Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, April 26th. The time is 12 p.m. and the temperature right now is around 9 degrees Celsius. And I'm here in the Brackendale Hill neighborhood. And I think this street is Hillcrest Drive. And for this one, I'm going to take a ride on one of my e-bikes just over there down a street that has become something of a cycling success story here in the city. And that is Shaw Street, which is just to the south of here. As about a week ago, the Toronto Star ran an article that shared some good news. Apparently, Shaw Street now sees more bicycle trips than it does car trips. And this house up on the hill here is quite nice. And there is the Rize Fixie e-bike, and this is the first time I'll be taking it out this year. And it might actually be the last time you see it on this channel. And I'll go into some of those reasons on the ride. All right, let's get ready to hop on the bike and get moving. So I just need to make a left here onto Brackendale Hill Road. And this will take me down to Davenport Road. I'll make a quick right, and that'll be where Shaw Street comes to an end in the north. So here is Davenport Road. There's no light to turn here, so I just have to wait for an opening. Okay, now it's south down Shaw Street. And I think Shaw is around 4 kilometers or so. It runs from Davenport just behind me where I started to just south of Queen Street. I think it terminates on Douro and the Liberty Village neighborhood. And for this stretch, it's a two-way street, but for the most part, it's one-way. There's St. Bruno Catholic School on the left. I think that's one of 2 fairly big schools on Shaw Street. And for this stretch to the north, you'll notice there aren't actually bike lanes, but rather bike sharrows. I think this is DuPont Street. So this ride will take me through a neighborhood known as Davenport, which is where we are now. And then just to the south of here will be Christie Pitts. And then Bickford Park. And then it will be through Trinity Bellwoods and Little Italy. So just south of here is where the formal bike lanes begin. And just for reference, this would be to the northwest of downtown. These bike lanes were installed back in 2013. And they kind of provide a nice alternative as opposed to bike lanes on major arterials. And the one-way traffic runs north, but you'll notice I am heading south as the bike lanes run in both directions here. And for this stretch that I'm on, cycling traffic was up 110% in the report. I think that was from late last year. and car traffic was down 60%. There's a very interesting home. And you might think that maybe all the traffic just diverted to other streets in the area. But overall traffic in this neighborhood is down. So that doesn't appear to be the case. In fact, I think cyclists outnumber drivers on this street by about 3 to 1. And here's a traffic calming measure. The street changes and becomes a one-way street going south. And you'll often find that's the case on these residential streets, and that's to prevent through traffic. Streets will be one way, and then they'll switch and go in the other direction. That kind of encourages local traffic only. I think just here on the right might have been a house that was pretty much sinking. I remember seeing pictures of that quite a long time ago. Sorry, I'm taking things a bit slower than I normally would. That's okay. I was going to take my single speed out, but between my last ride and this ride, the bike chain isn't doing so hot, so I think I'm going to get that replaced before I take that back out. Well, I guess this bike technically is a single speed. And just over to the left is Christie Pitts Park. It's one of two major parks along Shaw Street. The other one being Trinity Bellwoods. That's in the West Queen West area. And here is Bloor Street West. Where again, Shaw Street changes directions and it'll be northbound once I'm south of Bloor. A lot of people just call this area Bloor and Ossington. And just south of here between Bloor and Harbord, cycling volumes are up 205%, while car trips are down 60%. And a little correction to my previous stat, I'm just glancing down at my phone. Between DuPont and Essex, cycling was up 110%, but car trips were down 48%. So I got my 60% flipped around, but you get the idea. And if you go into Google Maps and click the cycling label, you'll see that for the most part, the state of cycling in Toronto is still pretty much a mess. There's random stretches of bike lanes, but there's no real continuous network. And I think that's one of the reasons why Shaw Street is so successful. It's just one long stretch of 4 kilometers where you can safely ride in a bike lane. I apologize for some of the rattling you hear from this bike. This is my first time taking it out. And I'm actually thinking about selling it. Between my other e-bike and my single speed and my e-scooters, I don't imagine I'll be riding this very often. Also, it's a bit on the uncomfortable side. The handlebars are pretty low. When I ordered it, it said it was good for people up to 6 feet on the website. I'm 5'11", but I actually lowered the seat to a bit lower than where it should be to see if I could relieve some of the pressure on my arms and shoulders. That didn't really do any good. So here's Harvard Street. And Harvard Street has a pretty successful bike lane on it. And that is Central Toronto Academy on the right. Toronto does tend to slope south as you head towards the lake, so this ride is mostly downhill overall. Here's Dewson Street. And coming up is College. And we are in Little Italy. The area to the south of here is also known as Trinity Bellwoods. And I think these lights were added at this intersection about 5 years ago. And I think the same for the lights at Harvard Street. I don't think they've always been there. And I definitely seem to be passing by more cyclists than motorists. There's the Fred Hamilton Playground on the right. You can hear whenever I'm not over a perfectly flat surface. There's some rattles on the frame of this bike. I think that's just how it was designed. So that's another thing that makes it not so ideal for me. I wouldn't care if I wasn't recording videos, but since I am, silence is better. And coming up is Dundas. So just on the left will be the Trinity Bellwoods Park. And here's where Shaw Street kind of gets split with the boulevard running down the middle. And I think really Toronto ought to implement more streets like this. Or rather, cycling setups like this. I think there's parts on the east, west, and north ends in particular that are underserved by cycling infrastructure, particularly in Scarborough, North York, and Etobicoke, and also in the old city of Toronto as well. In fact, I can't think of any other bike lanes like this that go north-south on the west side that don't run down a major street. Like University Avenue has them. And that's only in the downtown stretch on Queen's Park and University. It's a case of if you build it, they will use it. No more bike lane. It has been replaced by these sharrows. There's a former school on the right that is now a artscape. It's the neat looking coffee shop, the Found Coffee Shop. So if you're interested in purchasing a mildly used e-bike, let me know. I really do quite like this thing. It's just a bit too small for me. And here is Queen Street West, so just south of here. I think Shaw Street will meet its end. Had I were riding my normal speed, this whole stretch would only take 10 minutes or so, I would think. There's Cam H on the right. That's a large mental health center. It used to be the site of a psychiatric hospital. And we are heading south into the Liberty Village neighborhood. This is King Street just up ahead. Have to be careful there with the streetcar tracks. And that is it for Shaw Street. If I end this here, this video will be extremely short. There's Liberty Village straight ahead. Maybe I'll record a little bit longer here. I'm gonna go left on Douro, and I think just after Strawn, this turns into Wellington. There's a rail corridor on my right that kind of slices Liberty Village in two. We got a nice view of the CN Tower straight ahead. Here is Strawn. And this is Stanley Park up ahead, and this is where the old Garrison Creek used to cut through. There's the Garrison Crossing just on the right. And just up ahead here, this becomes a one-way street. I'm not going to be able to go straight through. I think that's right at Niagara. This is Walnut Avenue. All right, Niagara Street. And they do not have a two-way bike lane just on the east side. Let's go north up Niagara. So this is what these streets are like when you don't have a bike lane. No real difference for me, but I can see why some people would feel a lot more comfortable riding in a bike lane as opposed to just being mixed with traffic like this. And this is King Street West. Again, you can judge how smooth the road is by how noisy this bike is. If you don't hear anything, that means it's smooth. And this is Adelaide Street West. And that street has a bike lane. I'd hop in that, except last week I recorded an e-scooter ride that went along Adelaide and Richmond. And here is Richmond. Oh, it says I can go right here. Bicycles accepted. All right. So if my goal were to just leave Shaw Street and continue on marked bike lanes or bike routes, I would have been unsuccessful, as Niagara didn't have any. There's someone on an e-scooter. It's a 9-baht max. That's the same e-scooter I have. And it looks like we might be in for some rain a bit later today. Here's Bathurst Street. Says no left turns. And the bike lane ends on Richmond, so I guess I'll have to turn this way. All right, maybe what I'll do is I'll just head north back up to Davenport and we'll finish up there. So from the peaceful street with a bike lane to a more busy arterial with no bike lanes. This is Bathurst. And if you're wondering, I am pedaling. This is a single-speed, belt-driven e-bike. And here's Alexandra Park on the right. Apparently this car's signals don't work. You know what? Bathurst can be boring. Let's take Dundas over. On the left is Kensington Market, and on the right, Alexandra Park. I'll also be heading through Chinatown. What is this person doing? What are you doing? You're on the wrong side. She's putting me in a position where I might have to go left into those streetcar tracks. You don't want to take those if you're not taking them at a sharp angle. As I demonstrated in a cycling video I posted earlier this year. There's the Art Gallery of Ontario on the right. There's a lot of food out being delivered on e-bikes this afternoon. Or I guess every afternoon. I've seen a lot of e-bike food delivery riders out. Here's University Avenue. I think what I'll do is I'll go north up Bay Street and I'll take that to Davenport. And then we'll call it a ride there. And this is an area dubbed Little Tokyo. And straight ahead at Yonge Street is where you'll find Dundas Square. And something smells good in this neighborhood. And here is Bay Street. No left turns allowed, so I'm gonna do a double cross. And we've found another bike lane. You gotta watch, buddy. The guy just stepped into the bike lane without even looking. And this is College Street. And the bike lane disappears and turns into a sharrow. Up on some bus exhaust. Oh, and there goes the guy down the sidewalk. There's a model citizen right there. And the cyclist behind me just went left around this bus. I'm curious if he's going straight through this intersection or not. He is. All right. And I'm heading up towards the Yorkville neighborhood, and that's where this one will come to an end. And here's Bloor Street West. Good job, idiot. Try to enter an intersection you can't get through and block a bus and all the other traffic trying to get through. Bay Street ends at Davenport Road, and where I started this was pretty much right at Davenport Road and Shaw. So I've kind of gone in a big loop. All right, so I'm going to call it quits here, and I hope you enjoyed this one, starting by heading south down Shaw, a street that sees more bicycle traffic than it does cars or car trips. And I went south all the way down Shaw, and I worked my way west, or rather east into downtown, and then eventually up Bay Street to here at Bay and Davenport. If you wish to support the channel, there are links to Patreon and YouTube channel membership in the description. And I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides. There's a look at the beast that brought me here. All right, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.